The Chicago Bulls season has now ended, and there's really only one major question that remains before the offseason starts. What should Chicago Bulls do with Zach Lavine? There's a couple options. You re-sign him, but how much should you re-sign him for? You sign and trade him and you bring somebody else in that you think can do the same as him. Maybe you go try and find a young person in the draft and fill a spot and let him go, get some free cap space. Or you just sign somebody else in free agency that you think can do the same thing as him. Those are the major questions that a lot of people are asking right now about Zach Lavine. So, why don't we try and answer them? Is Zach Lavine worth a max? Is he that important to the Bulls? What are the other options? But if this is your first time on the channel, my name is John. This is the Sports Advocate. Thank you so much for tuning in. You might as well stay to the end because I have a lot of good information in here for you. But give me a like, give me a dislike, give me some criticism down below, and comment what you think Zach Lavine is worth, whether that's money-wise or how good of a player he is for this team. Is he worth getting paid as that number one guy, or is he more of a role player that is able to show how much he is capable of in this scheme? Also, subscribe because I have content like this daily. But nonetheless, let's go and get into this. I figure the most important thing is, how does Zach feel? How does the coaching staff feel? How do players feel? So let's start with that before we get into these numbers. First things first, Zach Lavine. Some quotes from Zach Lavine after the end season press conference. First quote, "I plan to enjoy free agency." Second quote, "We're going to have to experience A through Z without making any fast decisions." And the third and final quote that I have here, "I have to do this as a business decision. I can't automatically come back or automatically be leaving." How should we feel about these quotes? Now, these quotes may be a little worrisome, if we're being 100% honest. These quotes really make you sound like he wants to leave. You know, we got to enjoy free agency. He's got to look through A through Z and not make fast decisions. He doesn't have to automatically come back, but he also doesn't have to automatically leave. Well, I think this is all leverage. That's not too big of a worry. My cat's always going crazy during his videos. I don't know why. This is leverage. Trying to get leverage so that they don't undercut his worth. And I think that's fair. That's business, like he said. I have to do this as a business decision. That's what this is. This is business. This is his job. He has to get leverage so that he can get paid. Not to be too worried about. Now, other people's opinions. DeMar DeRozan said he's a max player. He's max talent. He's max everything. That's pretty good to hear from another star player on your team. Our head coaching and the front office, a lot of them are saying that they want to keep this group together. They want this team together for multiple years. They like what they've done with Zach Lavine the past few years, you know? A lot of good reports that surround keeping the team together, and they like what Zach has done. So, that's all pretty good news. Maybe Zach's talk is a little worrisome, but it shouldn't be as much because business is business. We all know that. So, now that we've talked about how people feel, let's talk about the most important thing. Should the Bulls offer a max contract? Now, a max contract, they're difficult to understand sometimes in the NBA. Really difficult, especially with Supermax and all that stuff. Now, Zach Lavine is not able to get a Supermax. He does not fall underneath the category of getting it, but he could get a max contract. What is a max contract, at least in his case? 5 years, about $200 million. That's a max contract for him. So, let's look at some stats real quick. The last 2 years, because he's seen a massive improvement over these past 2 years. So, in 2020-2021 season, 27.4 points per game, 4.9 assists per game, 5 rebounds per game, on 50.7% shooting. That's very, very good. Very, very good. This year, 2021-2022, 24.4 points per game, 4.5 assists per game, 4.6 rebounds per game, 47.6 field goal percentage. That's still very, very good. Now, we got to remember, he was dealing with ailing injuries throughout the whole year this year. So he had a thumb injury, I think it was, and his knee was bothering him for most of the season, but he was fighting through it. And I applaud him for that. We got to hope that he's able to fully heal, and I do expect that he already tore his ACL once, and he's able to look this good the past 2 years after doing it. So he didn't tear anything, so I expect him to be able to fully recover in this offseason and possibly even improve even more. Now, his other stats, his other awards, 2-time All-Star. He's been in both. He's won a slam dunk contest, and he's been in the three-point contest. Applause him for that. If he were to win a three-point contest, he'd be, I think, the first person in history to ever do that. Also, an Olympic gold medalist. Did that last year. 29th in the league this past year in a three-point percentage. That's very good if you don't know, because there's a lot of people that are just paid to be three-point shooters, and Zach Lavine's able to do a lot more, and he was still 29th. Now, I did that stat where you had to shoot above 300 shots for it to count. I just feel like people are shooting only like 200 or something, 150, and have a better percentage. I don't know. I like kind of making it an area. I thought about doing 400. That puts Zach at like 12th or 14th, and I'm like, that's too high up, so I went down to 300. Zach Lavine was also 12th in the league in points this past year. So even though he went down from 27.4 to 24.4, he was still 12th. So that's very, very good by him. Now, we've looked over Zach's stats. If you've watched Zach, you know a lot about him. Let's talk about some of the other players that have got max contracts, because there's a lot of fans out there that don't think Zach deserves a max contract because, what if his injury, he's not good enough, all that stuff. Let's look at some other players that have gotten max contracts. Now, obviously, there's the big names. Steph Curry. Kevin Durant. James Harden. Big names that have got max contracts. But there's also some lower talent that Zach Lavine, I'd say, is clearly above that also have max contracts. Andrew Wiggins, old teammate of Zach. I'd say that Zach Lavine's better than him. Andrew Wiggins has a max contract. Michael Porter Jr. didn't play the whole year. I'd say Zach's better than him, period, even without his whole injury. So if you're worried about injuries, Michael Porter Jr. got a max contract, got injured, still has max. And I'd say Zach's probably better than him still. Mike Conley got a max contract. John Wall is currently on a max contract. Ben Simmons is on a max contract. And many more players that are below Zach's all-star capability are on max contracts. Max contract does not only mean that you're the top dog on your team or a top guy in the league. And as a matter of fact, Zach Lavine kind of is, right? He's definitely top 5 shooting guard in the league. Definitely. You might even argue top 3. I mean, let's look at these shooting guards. These top shooting guards. Zach Lavine, Devin Booker, Donovan Mitchell. Yeah, there's a lot of good shooting guards, but Zach Lavine's up there. He's top 5, top 3. You could argue both. So, I think Zach Lavine deserves a max. Definitely deserves a max. Especially over some of these other players that are getting one. I mean, John Wall, yes, he was crazy. And when he did sign that max contract, he was older and they expected a decline, but I don't think they expected it so suddenly. But Andrew Wiggins, on the other hand, first-time All-Star this year and got his max contract before this year. I think he had the max contract in the Timberwolves. Michael Porter Jr. has not had the accolades that Zach Lavine has, and he got paid big time this past year. So, max contract is definitely something that Zach Lavine should get. And let's point something out real quick. Because of this year, I think they have bird rights, which means the Bulls can pay him more than any other team would be capable of offering. So I think other teams would only be able to offer like $160 million over 5 years, where the Bulls can offer $200 million a year. So if it's money that is Zach Lavine's thing, and the Bulls offer max contract, he's going back to the Bulls. But if it's not money, and it's a team. Well, let's look at the team real quick. Right now, the team. P. Will, injured most of the season. Came back, looked very good when he was on the court. Lonzo Ball missed pretty much the whole season as well. And when he was on the court, he looked very good, and the team looked amazing on defense. DeMar DeRozan looked like an MVP candidate all year round, and he's on this team because of Zach Lavine. Alex Caruso, injured for probably half the season, and he was a huge, huge help on that defensive front. Incredible help. Nikola Vucevic, all-star last year, probably could have been this year if he would have picked it up a little bit. Probably the best player in the entire series against the Bucks. Where are you finding this amount of young talent? Ayo Dosunmu, where are you finding this same amount of young talent and star talent on the same team who proved that they can play at a high level, being number one seed for a very long time before some of the injuries, and who went up against the Bucks and played a very good game 1, game 2. And then some things occurred where people were getting injured, people weren't playing at their full potential, all that stuff. But nonetheless, this team has proved that it can be a top team in the league for quite a while there during the season. And the roster on paper can tell you the same thing. I mean, let's look at it this way. Lonzo Ball likely will become an all-star soon, if he's healthy. I think he was on pace for it this year. I think he was on pace to be in the Defensive Player of the Year race, especially since Marcus Smart, a guard, got it this year. Lonzo Ball could have been in the race this year. So right now, without Zach Lavine, you got 2 All-Stars on this team, possible third in Lonzo Ball. You have 2 phenomenal defenders in Caruso and Lonzo. You have some good young players defensively. Ayo Dosunmu, shooting, maybe not so consistent. Kobe White. You got some young guys. You had a pretty good post. Maybe not so much defensively. There's other options, but I do like Vucevic. You got a guy that's playing at MVP level, DeMar DeRozan. What other teams have that have the money for Zach? Not a lot. Not a lot at all. I think this is probably Zach Lavine's best place to go, best option to go as far as team-wise. And money-wise, they can offer more than anyone else. But what if it's not Zach? What if Zach's iffy on it, but what if it's, hey, the Bulls maybe are like, maybe there's other options. Or maybe Zach's like, hey, I don't want to be here. And the Bulls go, how about we sign and trade you? Because they love to do that last year. So sign and trade. Who could it be if it's not Zach? If not Zach, then who? Sign and trade. Let's start there because the Bulls loved doing it last year. Lonzo Ball, DeMar DeRozan, 2 huge key components that were brought into this team are sign and trade. Maybe they do it this year. Options for the sign and trade. The most common ones that I've seen all over Twitter the past few days. If you don't follow my Twitter, it's in the description. T Sports Advocate, capital TSA. Go follow it. I'm always commenting, doing a bunch of stuff on there all the time. But all I've seen nonstop, Carol, please don't go crazy right now. All I've seen nonstop is people in Bulls uniforms that aren't on this team. And the comments or the description being, should this guy be on this team and we move Zach? And the funny thing is a lot of these guys are point guards, and Zach's a shooting guard. And we have Lonzo Ball. The Bulls have Lonzo Ball. So why are we only looking at point guards? Some of these options. Damian Lillard, huge Dame fan. Huge Dame fan. But what does he bring to this team that Zach doesn't? Zach's younger. Zach's more athletic. Dame is a better playmaker. They're pretty close on scoring. I'd say this past year, Zach was a better scorer because Dame had some injury problems. Okay. This was Zach's first time in the playoffs, and he was playing injured. So I don't know if you could really count that. Clutchness, probably give that to Dame. 3-point shooting, that's tough. I mean, Zach Lavine's been in the 3-point contest twice now, but Dame Lillard is shooting long balls like crazy. Defensively, they were probably equal. So, who is the better player of the two? At least right now, this next year, only this next year, Damian Lillard, probably the better player. But we got to look at this as a long-term thing. You're not bringing in Damian Lillard, let him leave, and now you lost a young star. Long-term, Zach Lavine. Zach Lavine's the option. And for scheme-wise, I think Zach Lavine. I mean, you're going to bring in Damian Lillard and do what? Are you going to move Lonzo Ball to the shooting guard? I mean, I guess it'd work, but why? I don't think that's what the issue is. I think the issue is going to be bringing defense to the post area and more shooting. So why move Zach Lavine for someone that's the same capability shooting? That's not improving the shooting. That's just changing people. Another option that I've seen a lot, Russell Westbrook. Okay. Russ had some struggles for Lakers. Zach Lavine also did this past year with his injury. Athleticism, they're pretty darn close to each other. At this moment, probably Zach Lavine because he's younger, even though he's still injured. Age, Zach Lavine. Potential for future, Zach Lavine. Potential for now, I'd say they probably break even. Defensively, I'm giving that to Russ. Whether he's actually better defensively, I don't know, but he sure looks like it when you look at the stat sheet. 3-point shooting, Zach Lavine by a mile. Playmaking, Russ. Rebounding, Russ. But again, you're taking an older guy, you're bringing him to a team, you're moving Lonzo to shooting guard now, and you're still not bringing what the Bulls need. Not only are you slightly improving on defense, you're immensely downgrading at 3-point shooting, which are the two things the Bulls want to improve on most. Okay, the last option, if we're talking sign and trade, Anthony Davis. Seen this a lot. Everyone's saying bring him back. Bring him home, right? AD. What does AD bring to the team? Well, he's got the same injury value as Zach Lavine. So I don't know why everyone's so, hey, I don't want Zach back because he's always injured. Let's bring an AD. What are y'all on about? You're bringing the big man who can play forward or center. Very good defensively in the Defensive Player of the Year talk before his injury. You're improving there. Pretty good 3-point shooter. Zach's obviously better. So you're improving there, but now you're paying somebody the same amount or more for an older guy, and you don't know what you're doing in a shooting guard. You move your power forward. What are you going to do with P. Will now? Is he a backup? You know? Like, what's going on now? What's going on now? Yes, you improve on defense. You get worse on three-point shooting. But you get older. Your future is a little worse now. You got a guy that's getting injured more than Zach Lavine. I don't think any of these options are better than Zach Lavine. So what's the other option? Well, you let Zach walk and you bring somebody else in. Who are some other good options? Well, I'd like to stay younger. Now, on contrary to that point of staying younger, James Harden would be available because the 76ers lost the contract. What does James Harden bring? Worse defense. Equal defense. Let's say equal defense. Zach's more explosive. Zach's younger. Zach has a better future. James Harden's a better 3-point shooter. That's it. James Harden's a better playmaker. James Harden's a better rebounder. And yes, I've listed a couple names here that you could argue is better as a just one-on-one player. But for the team, for this scheme, for the age, for the future, I think Zach's better than all these people I've listed. And lastly, another person that you could potentially bring in, and again, for these two let walk and replace people, they're going to be getting offers like crazy too. But Bradley Beal. A lot of people were comparing these two like crazy last year. Bradley Beal was number one scorer 2 years ago. Last year, not so much. Last year, he had a pretty good team. Maybe he wants to go back. I mean, he stayed loyal through all the craziness they had with Russ. Does he stay loyal? So you got to take that chance. If you let Zach walk, you're trying to bring in Bradley Beal. You got to take that chance. Does he want to come to your team after seeing Zach Lavine walk? Age, similar. Defense, similar. Shooting, probably Zach Lavine. Athleticism, Zach Lavine. Playmaking, I'm not sure. So these two probably break even on each other. Probably equal, as good as each other. But now you're fighting if you're going to get Bradley Beal because there's going to be other offers. Whereas Zach Lavine, you can pay him outright more than anyone else can. So my final response to this, give Zach the max. Period. He's worth it. He's better than every other option here for the future. He's better than most of these options for next year. Give Zach the max. DeMar wants him back. Coaches want him back. Vooch wants him back. Lonzo wants him back. Lonzo came here because Zach was here. DeMar came here because Zach was here. Caruso came here because Zach was here. And not just Zach being here, but Zach's potential along with the other teammates around him. Give Zach the max. He deserves it. Look at him compared to some of these other people that get max. It's not strictly about being an MVP level candidate to get a max. Now, a super max, that is. But a normal max, that's not. I mean, there's some people that are just strictly shooters that are getting max light contracts, max contracts. Duncan Robinson. There's people out here that will be getting max, similar contracts, or a full max. That are just shooters. Zach Lavine is a shooter, a playmaker, a dunker, improved on defense. And you guys are arguing if he deserves a max? Give Zach a max. That's the end of the statement. Give Zach a max. The team needs him. That simple. Now, I will be having other Bulls content come out that will include this, but I'm not going to go as deep into this unless something breaks where it's like, Zach Lavine no longer really wants to be on the Bulls. Like that's a story to tell. But when I start talking about offseason potential for the Bulls, I will bring up Zach a little bit, but not as much. I think you just bring Zach back with a max. It's that simple. But if you like this content, and you like Bulls content, and you like hockey content or football content, hit subscribe. Videos like this daily. Just as much detail, just as much effort. I think it's worth it. Go ahead, click it. Click it, down below or at the end card when it pops up. Also, check out some other videos. Plenty of great content. At the end here, on my end card, I normally do my most recent video posted and my YouTube recommended to you video. So go ahead and click one of those if you enjoy this content. I'm sure you'll enjoy those content too. I really liked the video I made yesterday as well. I also made a NHL playoffs bracket kind of reaction, prediction, all that stuff. That video is doing very well. Go check that out. I think you'll probably like that if you like this video. But nonetheless, give me a thumbs up, give me a thumbs down, give me some criticism down below. Comment if you think Zach deserves the max. Subscribe. And as always, I hope I taught you something today. Hope I made you smile. Hope I made you laugh. This something is really important to me, affecting someone else's life in a very, very good way. And lastly, as always, you guys all be safe out there.